This daf here in Yerushalmi Shabbos in the article Oz V'Har edition on daf Tzadik Dalet Amud Aleph, the first two dots, which is 3 lines from the top. In the Vilna, that is on Ayin Zayin Amud Aleph, and we're counting up from the end of the Perek, the end of Shmona Shvatim. It is 3, 6, 7 lines from the end of the Perek, and the Gemara says, Rabbi Bar Zav Shem Rav said, Halach Rabbi Shimon. Halach is like Rabbi Shimon in our Mishnah, who says that you're allowed to, anybody is allowed to use Shem and Veret. Call yourself a name Malachim. The Lokain, if not, Mina San Shem and Veret Ani V'lo Sach. Did anybody ever give rose oil to a ani and he didn't use it? As Korban says, the locain, the dafka refuah the kabi. If you want to say it's only refuah, you can't tzarich tolamar. You have to say she'ein ani tzarich b'shem veret, she'ein tzarich refuah. That an ani would never use shem veret unless it was for the purpose of refuah. Chimina sam ani shem and veret lo tzuf lo sach. Did you ever give rose oil to a poor person who didn't use it? If he has rose oil, he also use it to anoint himself. It's not that he does it for refuah specifically. He doesn't do it because he doesn't usually have it. Maybe he's only going to procure it and spend the money on it when he needs it for refuah. But of course, he could get it any day. He could get it. He would actually use it, even if it's just for Tanuk B'alma, just for pleasure. On Rabbi Zir Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Zir said to Rabbi Yossi, Chacham Rebbe Lebar Padayat Atar Mishmos Mishmei. Did you personally meet Rabbi Padaya that you say over statements in his name? This statement is not really relevant here. As Pnei Moshe is marich a bit. This is brought down in the first parak halacha beis. In the context over there, it's not directly related over here. But the Korban Eda, which is somewhat shorter than Pnei Moshe, says, "Makirta bar Patoya she'tamar lecha b'shmo Shem ha'magil lecha b'shakrim." Many people who tell you things in the name of bar Patoya are telling you not to tell the truth. Ma'aseh l'hacham brings it down here. Mishum hachbas, right? Rabbi Zil, Rabbi Ba. It brings it down because of the story, which is he brought about Rabbi Zil, that Rabbi Zil said to Rabbi Ba. We'll read momentarily. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan said, "Amin mishmo." Again, there's going in that statement over there. And saying that the Amalei that Rabbi Yossi said, Rabbi Yochanan said in his name, and he certainly was not lying. So that's brought down here because Rabbi Zil, Rabbi Bar Zavda, Chachim Rebbe, was Rabbi Zavda, the same name of Rabbi Shimon. Chachim Rebbe L'Rab. Do you know, Rab, that you're saying the Shmun in his name? So it's a similar Shakalatay, the Shakalatay we had the first parak, which is why that quote is brought down here. So it said, yeah, well, I don't know him that personally that well, but Rav Ada bar Achva said the name of Rav, and he can be trusted. So that's why Rabbi Abba bar Zavda said B'Shem Rav, even though he himself didn't hear it directly, but he heard from Abba bar Achva bar Achva, who was reliable. We have a lot of times that way in Shas, Bavli, and Yerushalmi, people say B'Shem or Mishum someone, and they didn't hear it directly. Very often you find, I've noticed Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Mishum Bar Yochai saying things. Obviously there are people in the middle who are not mentioned in the chain of tradition, but they heard it from a Bar Samcha. So even since they heard it from a Bar Samcha, they were so reliable, so therefore they quote as if they heard it directly from that person. Okay, Shmotzim. These are the knots, which are chayev because the ab malacha of kosher, which the Mishnah is going to discuss momentarily. Kesher gemalim, the knot made by camel drivers. The kesher is fine, the knot made by sailors. Kishem shchayev b'kishem, just to chayev on being kosher, on tying them, chayev on untying them. Remember, any knot which you can undo with one hand, you're not chayev on it. That's not considered to be a kesher. So kayama, even if, as the Korban said, you made it a kayama, you can still say kasher kayama. We don't pass the emotions, so we don't pass the mayor. So it says the Gemara, Mak Shira Haisa Mishkan. What time was in the Mishkan? Show you kosher as the meitorim. They would tie the meitorim. Seems to be the strings which would hold the kloim, as the Gemara said, the curtains. So the Gemara asked, below the Shohaisa, was it not temporary, like all things in Mishkan, so only as long as Mishkan stood in that place? We've had this Gemara numerous times already. Since they were once they camped there until Kosh Baruch Hu told them to move, which might theoretically be never, so it's as if they were there forever. Rabbi Yosef Moon said the same question you've heard many, had many times already as well. Became when Kosh Baruch Hu told them they're going to Eretz Yisrael. It's not temporary. It's not permanent. It's like it's as if it's temporary. In other words, you can't look at that as being permanent because we knew they're going imminently into Eretz Yisrael. So Rabbi Pinchas gives his own derivation. Pinchas it's not for the people who used to sew together the curtains. And of course, the curtains were, until they got the Shiloh and they made the Mishkan out of stone, so the curtains were a permanent fixture. So the Nifsa Kosher, if you were sewing the curtains together and you're making that seam and the thread snap, you would tie it back together again. Okay, that's tying. Chosam and Nifsak, if you got snap again, you can't make thread knot after knot, it doesn't look good. You have to undo the first knot, because there you have kosher and matir. He says an expert tailor, if he's doing this and the seam snaps, he is able to absorb both ends. In other words, he doesn't have to be matir. Somehow he knows how to tie it multiple times in the seam, and it's not going to be apparent. I have to be honest with you, I don't remember if we learned this way the same way when we learned Klal Gadol, the same Gemara in Perek Zayin Halacha Beis, but I'm looking at Chaim Kanievsky now, and this is the way he explains it here. So therefore, I need someone else to tell you about matir. Kosher I can learn from the sewing of the reels together, from the seams which held them together. But what about matir? I'll tell you. Which one tells you matir? They learn from the actual weaving of the reels. Then when they wove the threads into the tapestry, which was the reels. So the my timer, what pasuk teaches you? Says the length of the entire riyah, kedei shedei kula achas, that every weave should be one long continuous thread. In other words, they're not. You have the weave back and forth. So every weave has to be, whether it's the erev, whether it's the shesi, the warp, or the erev, the whoop or woof or weft, it has to be continuous, right? So therefore, nifsak hayakosher. If it snapped, you would tie together, but you wouldn't leave it that way because it would look there. It's thick. It's not like a seam where you're using threads in order to sew the curtains together. It's in the actual weave itself, and these are multi-stranded threads which you're using, right? Kofel, so they're like, because some of them it's like 24 or whatever, which a bunch of many threads in them, right? Kofel shisha, which was 6 times 4, with the gold was 28. So there are a huge amount of threads in each of these strands in the mega thread which held them. So therefore, you would tie them. Right? But once the weave was complete, you have to undo that place where you tie them together. So they wouldn't have that knot sticking out in the middle of the weave. So there you had matir. Okay, so you had matir from which you learned matir. He would remove that knot and reweave the strands, interweave them, and those those 24, 28 strands into each other, and there was matir, which is permanent, because that's the way the weave would stay forever and ever. Right? Tanchum Hashem said, you should know, I feel Erev Shabbos, even in Erev Shabbos in the rush, lo kesher, there was never a knot. V'lo tyomes, nor was there ever a doubling, of the of the of the yeah, I think I made the same mistake. I feel Erev Shabbat, even the Erev, not Erev Shabbos, Erev Shabbat, even the Erev threads, which are the less strong threads, the wolf or weft threads which go across, so they're less strong. Not less strong. That makes no sense because they're both the same amount of strands in the threads. So the Kormeida says in Chaim Kevsko says it's less nicker. So if you Erev Loya Ben Keshav Lo Shum Chibur, there was no tying and no connection. Because came a Shesi Shenikar Yoiser, and certainly this is in the Shesi where it's more nicker. So therefore he says so the there was they never had the knot or a doubling over. I guess that they never snapped. So therefore you can't learn out from the he rejects the limud from Orgei Rios, from the weaving. Rabbi Yeshua, if you have a vessel which is made out of palm branches, and they put in it the inferior dates in order that they should get ripe. Applied to a similar type of different type of basket, which you also will put in these dates. You can rip and undo the rope on Shabbos. As long as you don't tie it back again. Because evidently if you tie it back again, it's then you're doing it in order to be a kesher shokayoma, for it to last, and which we know is any time we're going to do it for the last 124 hours. So therefore you're not allowed to do that on Shabbos. It seems like to undo it, was considered to be a form of soiser, not a form of matir, in the sense which you're not allowed to untie a knot. In fact, the Gemara in Klal Goda said explicitly in the parallel sugya, after it said, as it's not undoing, it's like you're breaking it, and therefore that is okay. Okay, so it says then evidently if you tie it again, it's like mending it and tying it. Okay, halacha base. Yes, there are knots which you're not chayev. It's not issa deraisa, like the knots we learned about in the first Mishnah. Kosheres isha miftachei chaluk, and these are all even some of them are even mutter l'chatchila. The woman can tie the openings of her robe. V'chutei svacha shel piskia. And the strings of the hair covering and also shalpiskia, this is the of her belt. Really this is says it's it's a thick belt, and therefore you don't tie the belt itself. You tie the strings of the belt. Rutzus mino, and the shoestrings, the sandal and sandal strings. V'nodos yain v'shemen, and the openings of skins which carry wine and oil. Ukder shabasar, and the sometimes you would tie a garment on the mouth of your pot in which you cook meat. You can tie a knot in front of an animal to close a gate of some sort that it should not go out. You can tie a bucket to use in a well with a piskia, with a belt, which you're not going to leave there, but not rope which is Korban says you're going to leave it there, mevatlet, and it's going to be a kesher shel kayama. A reader material was said that you're allowed to use even a rope. Kal Mar Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda said, Kol kesher she'ena shel kayama ein chayav alav. Any kesher which is not a permanent kesher, you're allowed to, you're not chayav on it, which is of course a general principle, but here he says applied it everybody agree with, but evidently he applied it also to specifically the chevel of the string of the well. Okay, says Gemara. That's why, actually, that's a pretty much says Rabbi Yehuda. Even though, what do you mean? Of course, we were paskin that it's not kasher coming out chayah, but he applied it to the string of the well as well. He held that's not going to be kasher coming because it's not going to be a vatlo there. Chachamim argued him. Amar b'chizka meftech imra shumat biko lechaluk. That would say meftech chaluk. The Radal says der imra shumat biko lechaluk meftech hazeh sagdach minim v'shem mevatlo lo'olam. It seems like you're going to leave it there forever. So yachol atir meftech imra atzma. You can undo the key of the hem itself. Nevertheless, the hem will remain closed. Maftech with the key which is connected to the robe. It sounds like they had like a clasp attached to the hem, and even though and you can even undo that clasp which was attached to the hem, even though the clasp was attached to a clasp on the other side, right? And therefore, well, that theoretically could be a kesher bata lo'elam, the connection between the clasp and the hem. Nevertheless, it's telling you that you could undo the connection between the clasp and the hem, not the clasp to the other clasp on the other side. And then Rabbi said, no, that you're not allowed to undo. The connection between the hem and the clasp you can't undo. That has to stay connected. We're talking about where you have a clasp, which is like two different boards on either side, and you connect them together. That you can disconnect, not the connection between the clasp and the hem itself. Okay, nishmatu rituas mina of a sandal. If you what if your shoestrings come out of your shoes or out of your sandals, you can take them and put them back. As long as you don't tie them in a permanent way, we're not talking about the tying of the shoe, but tying them into the sandal into the shoe, that you can't do. Chotma shenishmat seems that in chotem is the top, the tip of the shoe. Although I don't think says that shot, but I think that's what the chotem is, like the nose, right? The chotem shishmat each tiny mutar lachzir. Those who said that you're allowed to put it back, each tiny also lachzir. Those who said you can't put it back. And boy, maybe the one to say mandamar mutar. He who said it's mutar. The b'sheish bonekav echad. It has one hole. Man the Amar Asur b'sheish bo zeis nekabim. It's the one that says Asur is one that has two holes. So the Pnei Moshe explains. Having boy v'nei yeshiva meimar the bahachim mitartzin divrayim. V'lo pligay. This is how we resolve what seems to be the machlekes. They don't actually argue. Man mar mutar. He says mutar b'sheish bo nekav echad b'makom shemach zil sham. It goes back into one hole. Lo mersikei malacha. It doesn't look like malacha. V'shenoch l'ziro kach. I guess it slides in and out. Man also says as two holes. Echad one on each side. Machzir rosh chotam shebekan toch the kavav. When you have to slip in both sides of the chotam into these, one into each side. The mechseit feikim malacha looks more like it's a malacha. Amar Rabbi Yosef said bein zeh command the Amar b'yeshbo shnei the kavav. No, even there's two holes, that doesn't make the difference. That's fine. Malkadon. So what's the conclusion? Where is it okay? Where is it not okay? Manamar mutar. He who says mutar, it's berufin, where the tip of the shoe slides back into the body of the shoe. and it's not a strong connection. It's a soft connection. Basically, go in and out, in and out. Madamar also about putzim when it's a tight connection, and you can't do it. That looks like you're fixing it on. Looks like you're fixing it on Shabbat. So our Mishnah said that according to Belazim and Yaakov, you can tie in front of an animal in order it shouldn't go out on Shabbos. So the Gemara is going to ask, "Ma chokin Belazim and Yaakov? Do people hire Belazim and Yaakov?" So Gemara says, "Let's make proof on Tosefta." I mean, Manatani. Now the Tosefta long language of the Girsa is imprecise. Pnei Moshe brings down the proper Girsa. Chachamim can see that a mayor by knots which are tied into the ground, which you want to open up. That you can loosen the matirin and loosen them and untie them. Umafkin, and also undo the strands of the rope, and then and that way remove remove the rope which is blocking your access. Avlo chotrim, but you can't cut. Uv Shabbos and Shabbos mefaki matirin, you can loosen it and undo it that way. Avlo mafkin below chotrim, but you can't undo the strands, and you can't cut the rope. That's all in the karka. Shebe kalim, if it's not kalim, b'Shabbos matirin, on Shabbos you can just undo them. Depends on Yotiv, because that's saying on Yotiv you do it, and he says vach matirin b'sefer tosefta tosu tzorchim mutter. Shabbos by kalim it's all mutter. Right, even the cut it's mutter on Shabbos. Everything is mutter on Shabbos and by kalim and certainly on Yotiv. But we saw that on by karka, so you can be mefak bake. If you can loosen it and then get and open the door, that's okay. But to be mafkia, you can't be mafkia. You can't even undo the strands, and follows also you can't untie it. Right. So you can't you can only loosen, not untie. So therefore, Yaakov. So does this tell us that they don't argue Rabbi Eliezer Yaakov? It's bitmiyah. It seems that they argue. They do argue because they only mefak bekin. You can only loosen it, can't untie it, and therefore you can't untie it, you can't tie it either. So our Rabbi said, "B'chevel shachlum es nisin, chevel shu meshuchol." Our Mishnah, not sure why it repeats it, but our Mishnah is talking about a rope which is the already it's not being you're not putting it out for the first time. It's already linked to one side of the opening from before Shabbos, and now you're just linking it. It's already threaded through, and now linking it to the other side of the opening. So when are you not allowed to tie or untie? When you're going to have let's focus on tying for a minute. When you're allowed to tie it when it's neither side is tied, and then you're going to tie it on Shabbos on both sides, and we're choshesh that we're concerned that you're going to leave one side tied there forever. It's going to be kesher kayama, and that even Elazar and Yaakov aren't allow you to do. And what it's talking about over here is where it's already shachul. It's already tied in on one side of the opening, and now you're tying the other side of the opening, and the one side was already tied on, that's the permanent side, and you're going to just you're going to tie the other side in order to close the door in front of the animal, and you'll untie it you untie it whenever you're ready to let the animal out. So that's by definition not a kesher shel kayoma. So there, even Chachamim would agree. That was Chachamim, we're talking about a mefak and Shabbos, a fakkim. You can loosen it, but you can't untie it. You can't take apart the strands, and you can't cut it. That's the about where you had a kesher shel kayoma, and you're trying to move it. You can't do that on Shabbos, even for the Torah Ochel. You can't do it on Shabbos. Therefore, all you could do is just loosen and try and open the door after you loosen it. But that's talking about where it was a kesher kayom to begin with. Here we're talking about where you had the kesher kayom on one side, that was there, and you're doing the kesher kayom on the other side. There, even to tie it and even untie it, also Chachamim would be moded that it is mutter. and bring us already to the end of the Amud, the beginning of the next Amud already.